Mitt Romney, the one Republican who voted to convict President Trump, now says the Bidens and Ukraine company Burisma Holdings should not be investigated. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez gives us a glowing example of hypocrisy, and Elizabeth Warren becomes the latest Democrat to drop out of the presidential race. All that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
And God bless the United States of America.
All right, friends, welcome to the show. Happy Friday. I hope you've had a great week. There's a lot of politics. We're going to have a packed show, and I got to start with just letting you know that as I was prepping for this show, I thought for sure a contrast caught my eye with some of the things Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has been doing and saying this week, and I thought for sure that was going to be my lead-in. Then I'm watching the news yesterday, and out comes Mitt Romney, anti-conservative, pro-establishment Mitt Romney. He's making news. I mean, and so I just knew that, all right, we're going to cover Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez next, but I had to cover this story. And I mean, what is going on with this guy? You look back to impeachment, okay? The House Republicans, they rammed through this case. Everyone knew it was bad. Everyone knew it. Then, when we get over to the Senate side, the actual trial side, the Trump defense team rips it to shreds. And yet, there's Mitt Romney having doubts and wondering. And then he gets on the Senate floor and says this.
Promise before God to apply impartial justice required that I put my personal feelings and political biases aside. Were I to ignore the evidence that has been presented, it would, I fear, expose my character to history's rebuke.
Well, those words are quite fitting, how he'd be exposed to history's rebuke for ignoring evidence. Well, there was no evidence there, but there sure is a lot of evidence on Joe Biden, his son Hunter, and the corrupt Burisma Holdings company that Joe Biden actually pressured the Ukraine government to protect his son and to stop the investigation. That's what actually happened. That's what the Senate is looking at. And that's where Mitt Romney is saying, oh, hold on. I don't know if we really want to investigate the Bidens and Burisma Holdings. Here's a story from the Daily Caller. Utah Senator Mitt Romney said Thursday that people are tired of politically motivated investigations, such as Republican Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson's probe into Burisma Holdings, the Ukrainian gas company linked to Hunter Biden. Romney is a member of the Senate Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee, whose chairman, Johnson, plans to hold a vote on March 11th to subpoena Andriy Teleshenko, a former consultant for a firm that Burisma hired to fight against corruption allegations. Johnson's effort to issue the subpoena could be halted if Romney votes against the measure, CNN reported. Republicans hold 8 seats on the committee to the 6 seats held by the Democrats. All right, so we know how corrupt this company is. It's being investigated now by the Ukraine government. It was being investigated before. The problem before, though, is Hunter Biden sat on the board with no experience in oil and gas. He sat on the board. He was being investigated by a Ukraine official, and Joe Biden actually pressured the government, saying they were going to withhold U.S. aid if that guy was not fired. Remember this?
They would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here, and I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
All right, so that is flat out blatant quid pro quo right there. And yet Romney doesn't want to investigate that? Here's more from the Daily Caller. There's no question that the appearance of looking into Burisma and Hunter Biden appears political, Romney told reporters Thursday when asked about the upcoming subpoena vote. I think people are tired of these kind of political investigations. I would hope if there is something of significance that needs to be evaluated, that it would be done perhaps the FBI or some other agency that's not as political as perhaps a committee of our body, the Utah senator continued. We also have a lot of work to do on matters that are not related to Burisma. We probably ought to focus on those things. So he said that. He said that it'd probably be better for the FBI or some other organization that's not so political to get involved. This is the same FBI that was involved with Mueller investigation and with this impeachment. It's political. They're all political. It's all the deep state swamp up there. And Romney actually said that as if those organizations now, in the era of President Trump, would be better. It's just absolutely amazing. And I hope that next time around, Utah votes for a better kind of conservative, an actual conservative, than Mitt Romney. Next, I want to talk about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez because this week she gave us a glowing lesson in hypocrisy. It is absolutely amazing how she is the true embodiment of the far left because they will do and they will say anything. It doesn't matter. They will contradict themselves. That doesn't matter as long as they push an agenda. And that is exactly what she was doing this week. It was so funny. So on the one hand, we've got two stories. One side is her efforts to go after incumbent Democrats. These are Democrats that helped win the House for them last time. Take away from the Republican control. Give it to the Democrats. These incumbents are needed by the Democrats. She's going after them because they're not far left enough. Here's a report from Fox News. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's progressive candidates did not have the Super Tuesday in the first congressional primaries of the 2020 cycle. The Democratic establishment, on the other hand, could breathe a sigh of relief after three primary challengers from Texas and California underperformed in highly anticipated contests against longtime Democratic incumbents and establishment darlings. So what's going on here? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, in an effort to divide, set up challengers, far-left challengers, against Democratic incumbents or establishment folks. And she did that knowing the tension that it would bring to people like Nancy Pelosi and other House leaders, the Democrat Congressional Committee, people like that, organizations like that. She knew what she was doing the whole time, and yet she continued to do it. And here's more from Fox News. All three challengers were endorsed in the last month by Courage to Change, a political action committee formed by Ocasio-Cortez to help progressive challengers take on establishment incumbents. The types of candidates that Democrats put on the ballot have been the center of a big feud between Ocasio-Cortez and the Democrat leadership. Though she is one of the highest profile members of the party and one of its biggest fundraisers, Ocasio-Cortez has refused to donate her share of fundraising to the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee due to their policy to blacklist vendors who work with progressive primary challengers. So that's the dividing part of the story. Okay, she is actively dividing, promoting division within her party. Then on the other side, you have her support for Bernie Sanders. And now it's basically a race between the far left and Bernie Sanders and the establishment with Joe Biden. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is actually coming out and calling for unity, that Democrats need to unite because having a divided convention would not be good for the party. Here's a report from the Washington Times. Progressive freshman Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said Wednesday that she's concerned that going into the Democratic convention without a clear presidential nominee will spur division in the party. I think a brokered convention obviously is more difficult for whoever the eventual nominee is. It's important for us to have a decided nominee before the convention itself, the New York Congresswoman said. The more tangled the process seems, the less transparent the process seems, the more divisive the situation is. Her comments come after Vice President Joseph Biden surged ahead in the Democrat primary and Super Tuesday races, essentially narrowing down the election to him and Senator Bernie Sanders. So this is unreal. She has no problem advancing her agenda if it divides the party, but if others are divided, then she says we got to call for unity. If it doesn't fit her needs, we call for unity. If it fits her needs, division is more than proper, more than appropriate. She'll push it. She'll fundraise to get Democrats out of office if they don't suit her agenda. But go against Bernie Sanders and her guy? Well, we need unity. We can't have that. We can't have division. It's just hypocrisy at the max. So next, I want to talk about Elizabeth Warren because she is the latest to drop out of the presidential race, essentially with Bloomberg and Buttigieg, Tom Steyer, Amy Klobuchar all dropping out this week. It's basically Biden versus Sanders. And she had a conference call with supporters, and here's part of what she said on that call. We fundamentally changed the substance of this race. You know, a year ago, People weren't talking about a 2-cent wealth tax, universal child care, canceling student loan debt for 43 million Americans while reducing the racial wealth gap, or breaking up big tech, or expanding Social Security. And now they are. And because we did the work of building broad support for all those ideas across the country, these changes could actually be implemented by the next president. All right, I hate to break it to Elizabeth Warren, but there is not broad support on those issues. That is fringe policy from the far left, and that is one of the reasons why she lost. It makes no sense that she thinks that this is broad appeal. And yet now her campaign is done. She's gone. And guess what the far left is floating as a reason for her dropping out of the race? The reason her campaign did not succeed? You guessed it, sexism. It's because she's a woman. That's why she lost. And it's just, there's so many levels to that notion that we can jump into. Beckett Adams over at the Washington Examiner wrote a great opinion piece yesterday pointing out all the far lefties who are writing and talking about Elizabeth Warren, her demise, and the cause of it right there. Here's a report from the Washington Examiner. America punished Elizabeth Warren for her competence, declared a headline published this week by The Atlantic. The op-ed adds, the country still doesn't know what to make of a woman in politics and beyond who refuses to qualify her success. Elizabeth Warren could never escape the baggage of being a female candidate, mourned Huffington Post. She was qualified, she persisted, but sexism still mattered. So, and the column goes on, it points out other examples. It points out on and on, news sources, MSNBC, CNN, others, saying the same exact thing. And it's really so insulting when you think about it, because this sexism that supposedly brought down Elizabeth Warren, is it those evil Republicans who did it? Is it the bigoted, racist, sexist conservatives? Is that who they're talking about? No, these are Democrat primary voters. The same voters that elected America's first black president, the same voters that had Hillary Clinton, a woman, as their nominee last time. Now all of a sudden they're sexist and they're not promoting Elizabeth Warren. Could it be that her policies weren't that good? Could it be that she kind of mirrored Bernie Sanders and Bernie Sanders was just better at it? That Bernie Sanders didn't have the baggage of saying that his dad was a janitor when he really wasn't? That he's part Indian when he's really not? That he was fired for being pregnant when that really didn't happen? Maybe he's just a better candidate carrying the same message without that kind of baggage. I don't know. Could be sexism. Could be that. Who knows? Finally, we're going to end with some relaxed brain because that is what we do on Fridays. So here we go. Do you have a relaxed brain?
I got what you call a relaxed brain.
All right, so with all that's going on in politics nowadays, you can't have a relaxed brain segment on the 13-minute news hour without talking about Joe Biden. I mean, he is just a wealth of clips, wealth of gaffes, and he did it again. He did it again this week with his Declaration of Independence, which he didn't even know what he was talking about. So let's check it out.
And above all, it's time for America to get back up on its feet and once again fight for the proposition that we hold these truths to be self-evident. Sounds corny. Not a joke. Think about it. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
You know the thing. What is going on with this guy? I mean, we'll wait till tomorrow. There's probably going to be something new. Next Friday, we'll have a whole segment on just him. It's just absolutely nuts. So that's Joe Biden. Next, I want to talk about Deadrian Anderson, who was sentenced to 30 days in jail here in Texas on Wednesday. And what was the crime? Well, this guy was one of those Bluebell ice cream licking fools that was in Walmart, licks the ice cream, puts it back. He's sentenced to jail. He's going to jail for it. Here's a report from Fox News. Deadrian Anderson of Texas was sentenced to 30 days in jail on Wednesday after pleading guilty to criminal mischief for licking a carton of Bluebell ice cream and returning it to a Walmart freezer. He posted the video to Facebook in August, which showed him licking a tub of vanilla ice cream and eating pieces of it with his fingers before leaving the container behind. Anderson was facing up to a year behind bars and a maximum fine of $4,000 after pleading guilty in January, but was instead sentenced to serve 30 days in jail and 180 days probation over 2 years. So the moral of the story, when you come down to Texas, don't lick our bluebell. Don't put it back. Just don't do that. 30 days is not enough, in my opinion. So finally, I want to leave you with this. It shows that the more things change, the more things stay the same. Here is a clip, old school clip, from Bob Hope, our comedian, entertainer, patriot of old. Here he's talking about zombies and how it really just sums up what's going on today. Check this out.
You live here?
Yes.
Well, maybe you know what a zombie is.
When a person dies and is buried, it seems there's certain voodoo priests who have the power to bring him back to life.
Horrible.
It's worse than horrible because a zombie has no will of his own. You see them sometimes walking around blindly with dead eyes, following orders, not knowing what they do, not caring.
You mean like Democrats?
So I just love that. I mean, you can just see all these people following Bernie, following AOC. It's absolutely nuts. Folks, think, use your brain, figure this stuff out. You'll see that this socialism is not the way. Oh my gosh. All right, folks, that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, and when you do, please hit that bell so you'll be notified, and we'll see you next time. I'm Bobby Eberly. This is a 13-Minute News Hour. Okay, friends, just a little reminder before you go, and no, this does not count against my 13 minutes. Please hit the subscribe button below and tell your friends. And if you happen to miss our last show, you can check it out right here. And also for great conservative news and commentary, please check out GOPUSA.com. All right, folks, we'll see you on the next show. Have a great day.